Have you ever stopped to wonder what makes a buzzing bee different from a silent, unmoving stone? Well, it seems like a simple question, but, it is one of the biggest puzzles in science. Imagine you are walking through a forest. You see a tall tree, its leaves rustling in the wind. A little squirrel scurries up its trunk, and a mushroom peeks out from the damp earth. All these things feel alive. But what about the rock you just stepped over, or the river flowing nearby? They are part of nature, but we do not think of them as living. What is the special secret that separates the living from the non-living? This question is not just for scientists in white coats. It is a mystery for all of us. Understanding what it means to be alive helps us see the world in a new way. It connects the smallest things we cannot see, like tiny germs, to the largest creatures on Earth, like the great blue whale. When we know the rules of life, we begin to appreciate the incredible complexity and beauty around us. It is like learning the grammar of a new language. Suddenly, you can understand the stories that nature is telling everywhere you look. From the delicate unfurling of a new fern leaf, to the determined journey of a salmon swimming upstream, life follows a set of remarkable rules. These rules are the invisible threads that tie all living things together in a vast and wonderful web of existence. This journey to define life is more than just a scientific exercise, it is a personal one. It changes how we view ourselves and our place on this planet. When you realize that you share the same fundamental principles of life with a towering oak tree or a humble earthworm, it creates a powerful sense of connection. This understanding can inspire a deeper respect for all forms of life, encouraging us to protect the fragile environments that support them. We start to see that every living being, no matter how small or strange, is a masterpiece of nature, playing its own vital role in the grand story of our world. It is a story that has been unfolding for billions of years, and we are lucky enough to be a part of it. In this exploration, we will not get lost in complicated science. Instead, we will look for simple, clear answers. We will travel together to uncover the core characteristics that everything alive shares. Think of it as a checklist. If something ticks all the boxes, we can confidently say it is alive. This journey will take us from the bustling world inside a single drop of water to the vast ecosystems that cover our planet. By the end, you will have a clear picture of what life is, and you will be able to spot it anywhere you go. It is a secret that is hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to pay attention and understand its simple, elegant rules. So, what are these fundamental rules that govern all living things? We can think of them as the 7 essential characteristics of life. They are the building blocks that create the amazing diversity of organisms on Earth. Our exploration will be a simple guide to these 7 key ideas. We will begin by looking at how all life is organized. Just like a house is built from bricks, living things are built from tiny units called cells. We will discover how these cells come together to form everything from a single-celled bacterium to a complex human being. Next, we will look at how living things use energy. A car needs fuel to run, and living organisms need energy to grow, move, and simply stay alive. This process of using energy is called metabolism. We will see how a plant captures sunlight to make its own food, and how an animal gets energy by eating other organisms. We will also explore how living things grow and develop. Chandring soai kordur suns, a niner dichkin near, or changing over time, from a small seed into a mighty tree, or from a tiny egg into a full-grown bird. Following that, we will dive into how life creates more life. This is the rule of reproduction. For life to continue from one generation to the next, organisms must make copies of themselves. We will see the different ways this happens, from a simple cell splitting in two, to the complex rituals of animals finding a mate. We will also investigate how living things respond to their surroundings. Pull your hand away from a hot surface. A flower turns to face the sun. This ability to react to the world, known as response to stimuli, is crucial. Finally, we will uncover the last 2 rules. Homeostasis is the ability to keep internal conditions stable. Your body keeps its temperature just right whether it is hot or cold outside. Adaptation is how species change over long periods to fit their environment. This is evolution, organization, metabolism, growth, reproduction, response, homeostasis, adaptation. Our first step in understanding the rules of life is to look at how living things are put together. Imagine you are building a house with Lego bricks. Those small, colorful blocks can create almost anything. A simple wall, a grand castle. In nature, living things are built similarly. but with tiny units called cells. A cell is the smallest, most basic unit of life. It can carry out all the processes necessary for living. Everything that is alive is made of one or more cells. Think of a cell as a miniature factory, bustling with activity. Inside its walls it has everything it needs to function. It can take in food, it can convert that food into energy, it can get rid of waste, it can even make copies of itself. Some organisms are a single cell doing all this alone. Others, like us, are trillions of cells working together. No matter how simple or complex, the cell is the fundamental starting point. All life is cellular. This is our first rule. This principle separates living creatures from non-living objects. A rock is made of minerals and crystals. Those parts cannot perform the functions of life on their own. They do not take in nutrients. They do not reproduce. A cell, however, is a self-contained world of wonder. It has a boundary called a cell membrane. Inside is a watery cytoplasm where work happens. Most cells have a control center called the nucleus. The nucleus holds instructions, a blueprint for the cell. So the first test, is it made of cells? Scientists use microscopes to check. A drop of pond water reveals tiny single-celled organisms. A thin slice of a plant leaf shows a neat grid of rectangular cells. Even a sample of our skin shows a tightly packed layer of cells. This universal presence of cells is our first piece of evidence. It's the secret ingredient nature uses to build every form of life we know. Now that we know life is built from cells, we can explore the two main ways nature uses these building blocks. The simplest living things are made of just one single cell. These are called unicellular organisms. A unicellular organism is a complete living being. It has to do everything by itself: find food, escape danger, get rid of waste, and reproduce. These tiny creatures are the most abundant form of life on our planet. They are everywhere, in the soil beneath our feet, in the water we drink, and even inside our own bodies. Bacteria are a famous example. While some can make us sick, most bacteria are harmless or even helpful. Amoeba are a fascinating example found in ponds that can change its shape to move and eat. Yeasts are the single-celled fungi that help us make bread and other foods. Their simplicity is their strength, allowing them to adapt and thrive in almost any environment imaginable. On the other end of the spectrum we have organisms made of many cells. These are called multicellular organisms. Multi means many. Plants, animals, most fungi fall into this category. A dog, a mushroom, a giant redwood tree. In these organisms the cells are not all the same. They become specialized, meaning they take on different jobs. Think of it like a city where you have different people doing different tasks. Some are builders, some are doctors, some deliver food. Your body, for example, has over 200 different types of cells. You have muscle cells that are designed for movement, nerve cells that send messages throughout your body, and red blood cells that carry oxygen. None of these cells could survive on their own for long. They depend on each other. A muscle cell needs the oxygen brought by red blood cells, and both need the instructions sent by nerve cells. This incredible teamwork allows multicellular organisms to perform complex actions, like running, thinking, or even reading these words right now. The journey from a single cell to a complex, coordinated organism is one of the most incredible stories of life. Section 3. From cells to systems. In multicellular organisms, the organization does not stop with specialized cells. These cells group together to form more complex structures. The first level up from a cell is a tissue. A tissue is a group of similar cells that work together to perform a specific job. For example, in your body, many muscle cells join together to form muscle tissue, which has the job of contracting to create movement. When different types of tissues come together to perform a larger function, they form an organ. Your heart is a perfect example. It is made of muscle tissue that pumps blood, nerve tissue that controls the rhythm, and connective tissue that holds everything together. All these tissues work in harmony to achieve one major goal: to circulate blood throughout your body. In a plant, a leaf is an organ. It has tissues for photosynthesis, tissues for transporting water, and a protective, outer tissue. These organs do not work in isolation either. They are organized into even larger groups called organ systems. An organ system is a group of organs that cooperate. For instance, your digestive system includes organs like the stomach, intestines, and liver. Together, they work to break down the food you eat, absorb nutrients, and get rid of waste. A plant's shoot system includes the organs of the leaves, stems, and flowers, all working together to help the plant grow and reproduce. Finally, at the very top of this organizational ladder is the organism itself. An organism is a complete, individual living being. It can be a single-celled amoeba, a squirrel, a tree, or a person. Your respiratory system brings in oxygen, your circulatory system delivers it to the cells, and your nervous system coordinates all these activities. This incredible level of organization, from the tiniest cell to the complete organism, is a defining feature of life. Section 4. How we see the invisible. It is one thing to talk about cells and tissues, but how do we know they are really there? The key to observing this first rule of life lies in a remarkable invention, the microscope. A microscope is an instrument that makes tiny objects look much larger, allowing us to see things invisible to the naked eye. The first person to see cells was Robert Hooke in the 1600s. He looked at a thin slice of cork from a tree, saw tiny empty rooms and called them cells. Today, more powerful microscopes show cells in incredible detail. A simple light microscope, like in a science class, can reveal many types of cells. To use one, place a very thin sample, a drop of water, or a sliver of onion skin, on a glass slide. Shine a light through the sample and look through the eyepiece. A hidden world appears. You can see the cell walls of onion cells, a neat brick pattern. In a drop of pond water you can watch tiny organisms darting, each one a single, complete cell. If you looked at a small piece of wood, you would see leftover cell structures. If you looked at a grain of sand, you would see irregular crystals, no cell structure. This simple test, looking for cells, is fundamental for biologists. It's the first evidence they collect when identifying life. The discovery of cells changed biology, showing all living things share an organized structure. Looking closer reveals a profound truth about the world. Even the largest creatures are built from the same units as the most humble bacteria. The organization of life, cells, tissues, organs, systems. It's the invisible architecture supporting the living world. Peering through a lens we witness the secret of life, order and structure built one tiny cell at a time. This foundation of organization is where the story of life truly begins, you know. Section 1. The engine of life. Once a living thing is organized into cells, it needs energy to do anything. Just like a car cannot drive without fuel, or a lamp cannot shine without electricity, an organism cannot survive without a constant supply of energy. This process of getting and using energy is called metabolism. It is the engine that powers everything, from moving and thinking to repairing itself and growing. It is a non-stop, bustling activity happening inside every single cell, every moment of the day and night. There are two main ways that living things get their energy. Some organisms, like plants, are masters of making their own food. They use a remarkable process called photosynthesis. Using sunlight, water, and a gas from the air called carbon dioxide, they create their own sugary fuel. This is why plants are so important for our planet. They are the primary producers of energy for most ecosystems. They capture the sun's power and turn it into a form that other living things can use. Other organisms, like animals, cannot make their own food. Instead, they must get their energy by eating other living things. When a cow eats grass, it is taking in the energy that the grass stored from the sun. When a lion eats the cow, it is taking that energy for itself. This transfer of energy from one organism to another is what creates a food chain. Whether it is a tiny insect munching on a leaf or a great whale filtering tiny shrimp from the ocean, these organisms are all taking part in the great energy exchange of life. So, the test for metabolism is to observe how an organism gets and uses energy. We can watch a plant turn towards the sun. We can observe an animal eating food, whether it is a bird catching a worm or a person eating an apple. We can even feel the result of metabolism in our own bodies. When you exercise, you breathe faster to get more oxygen, which your cells use to burn fuel more quickly. The heat you feel is a byproduct of these metabolic reactions. This constant need for fuel and the process of using it is the second great rule of life, the tireless engine that keeps everything running well. Once an organism has a steady supply of energy from its metabolism, it can use that energy for another essential purpose, to grow and develop. Growth is not just about getting bigger, it is a fundamental characteristic of all living things. It is the process of increasing in size, often by producing more cells. A tiny acorn can grow into a massive oak tree over hundreds of years. A single fertilized egg, no bigger than a grain of sand, can grow into a fully formed human baby. For single-celled organisms, growth is a bit different. It grows to a certain size, and then prepares to divide. For multicellular organisms, growth is a much more complex affair. It involves not just an increase in the number of cells, but also a process called development. Development is the series of changes an organism goes through as it matures. It is the transformation of a tadpole into a frog. It is the change a caterpillar undergoes inside a chrysalis to become a butterfly. This process of growth and development follows a specific set of instructions, a blueprint held within every cell. This blueprint ensures that a kitten grows up to be a cat, not a dog, and that a sunflower seed grows into a sunflower, not a rose bush. The energy from metabolism is used to build new parts according to this plan. Cells divide, specialize, and arrange themselves into the tissues and organs. This is not a random process. It is a highly controlled and organized sequence of events. You can plant a seed in a pot and measure its height every day, as it sprouts and reaches for the light. You can watch a puppy or a kitten get bigger and stronger week by week. Even your own body provides evidence of growth. You are taller now than you were as a child. This constant process of building and changing is a universal drive for all living things. It is the visible expression of life using energy not just to survive, but to flourish. Oh, and that's what growth really is. If life only consisted of organization, metabolism, and growth, it would be a very short story. An organism would be born, grow, and then it would be over. For life to continue, there must be a way to make more life. This is the rule of reproduction, the process by which living things create new organisms of their own kind. It is perhaps the most powerful drive in all of nature. Every living thing today is here because its ancestors were successful at reproducing. It is life's greatest and most enduring legacy. There are two primary ways that organisms reproduce. The first is called asexual reproduction. A single parent produces offspring genetically identical to itself. This is common in many single-celled organisms. A bacterium, for example, can simply split itself in two. Some plants reproduce this way. A strawberry plant sends out runners that can grow into new, identical plants. This method is fast and efficient when conditions are good, but it does not create much variety. The second method is sexual reproduction. It usually involves two parents combining genetic information to make a unique offspring. This is how most animals, including humans, and many plants, reproduce. It involves the meeting of special cells from each parent, like an egg and a sperm, to start a new life. The great advantage of sexual reproduction is genetic variation. Offspring mix traits from both parents, different from their parents and from each other. This variety helps species survive in a changing world by increasing the odds some will have the right traits. The evidence is all around us. We see it in a bird building a nest, in a flower, attracting insects, in a mushroom releasing spores, in a mother cat nursing her kittens, and in the salmon's journey upstream to spawn. Every new seedling, every chick and every baby is a testament to this rule of life. Reproduction is the bridge between generations, the vital process that lets the story of life be passed on. Well, that's the legacy life leaves behind. Life is not a passive experience, it is a constant conversation with the environment. All living things have the remarkable ability to sense what is happening around them and react to it. This characteristic is called response to stimuli. A stimulus is any change. A change in light, temperature, sound, or the presence of a chemical. The reaction, or response, is the action the organism takes. Think about how you quickly pull your hand away if you touch something hot. The heat is the stimulus, and pulling your hand away is your response. This ability is crucial for survival, helping organisms find food, avoid danger, and seek comfort. A single-celled amoeba will move away from a chemical it dislikes, or move toward a source of food. Plants, which seem so still, are also constantly responding. A sunflower will famously turn its head throughout the day to follow the path of the sun. The roots of a plant will grow toward sources of water, responding to the stimulus of moisture in the soil. A deer in the forest that hears the snap of a twig, the stimulus, will instantly freeze and listen, ready to bolt to safety. A dog might start wagging its tail and come running when it hears the sound of its owner's keys in the door. The test for this rule of life is to create a stimulus and observe the reaction. Gently touch the leaves of a Mimosa pudica plant, and watch them fold up instantly. Shine a bright light into a dim corner where some earthworms are, and they will quickly try to burrow away from it. Stand in front of a mirror in a dimly lit room, and then turn on a bright light. You will see your pupils get smaller in response to the light. This ability to sense and react is the fourth rule of life, proving that living things are not just passive objects but active participants in their world. Imagine trying to walk on a tightrope. You have to make small adjustments to keep your balance. Living organisms do something similar. They must keep internal conditions stable. This ability is called homeostasis. On a hot day, you begin to sweat. As sweat evaporates, it carries heat away. In the cold, you might start to shiver. Shivering, muscles contracting rapidly to produce heat. Eat a sugary snack. The body releases insulin so cells absorb sugar and levels return to normal. A dog on a hot day will pant to release heat. A desert reptile will bask in the morning to warm up. Then it seeks shade. But what happens when the environment itself changes over very long periods? Life has a solution for this too. Adaptation. Adaptation is the process by which a species gradually develops traits that make it better suited to survive. Think of the polar bear. Its thick fur and a layer of blubber help it survive in the freezing Arctic. Its white coat is another adaptation that provides camouflage. Over countless generations, bears with slightly thicker fur or slightly whiter coats were more likely to survive and pass on those helpful traits. Adaptation explains the incredible diversity of life. It is why fish have gills, why birds have wings, and why cacti have thick, waxy skin. Sometimes, these adaptations can be for behavior. For example, some birds migrate thousands of miles every year. Charles Darwin observed finches on the Galapagos Islands. Finches on different islands had different beaks. Another example, camouflage, stick insects, leaf-tailed geckos, their shapes and colors blend with surroundings. Response, immediate reaction, homeostasis, short-term internal balancing, adaptation, long-term multi-generational change. It's pretty remarkable. We have now journeyed through the 7 fundamental rules. All life is built from organized cells. Metabolism acts as the engine of life. This energy-fueled growth, reproduction, life's greatest legacy. Response, active participants reacting to stimuli. Homeostasis, the quiet internal balancing act. Finally, adaptation, life-changing across vast stretches of time. Organization, metabolism, growth, reproduction, response, homeostasis, adaptation. They are deeply interconnected. Think of it like a symphony orchestra. Each rule is a different instrument, playing its own unique part. On their own, they are interesting, but when played together, they create the beautiful and complex music of life itself. No single rule is enough. A crystal can grow, but it has no metabolism. A fire can reproduce, but it is not made of cells. A robot can respond, but it cannot evolve on its own. It is only when all 7 characteristics are present and working together that we witness the true phenomenon of being alive. They are the universal threads that weave all of us, humans, animals, plants, fungi, into a single magnificent tapestry of existence, a unified family sharing one precious planet. Well, that's the big picture. Understanding these 7 rules of life fundamentally changes our perspective. We are not separate from nature, we are an integral part of it. The oxygen we breathe is produced by the metabolism of plants. The food we eat is a product of the growth and reproduction of other organisms. We share the same cellular building blocks, the same need for energy, and the same evolutionary history. This shared heritage is a humbling and powerful realization. This knowledge brings with it a great responsibility. If we are all part of the same web of life, our actions have consequences that ripple throughout the entire system. When we pollute a river, we disrupt the homeostasis of an entire ecosystem. When we destroy a forest, we erase millions of years of adaptation. Understanding the rules of life makes it clear that caring for nature is an act of self-preservation. The story of life is a story of resilience, but our modern world is now presenting challenges at a pace that life has never faced before. The rapid changes we are causing to the climate and environment are happening too quickly for many species to adapt. So, the next time you see a bee buzzing from flower to flower, pindamari basan bee, or watch a seed sprout from the soil, take a moment to appreciate the incredible processes at play. You are witnessing the 7 rules of life in action. You are seeing a system that is organized, energetic, growing, reproducing, responsive, balanced, and perfectly adapted to its world. By recognizing this shared magic, we can be inspired to become better stewards of our planet. Let us work to ensure that the beautiful, complex, and wonderful symphony of life can continue to play for countless generations to come, filling our world with its endless wonder and hope. Let's try.